Hello, my impressive Algebra 3 students. We are ready for another exciting online trip. Today, we will convert between degree measure and radian measure. Let's review something about the circumference of a circle. The formula for circumference of a circle is C is equal to 2 pi r, where C is the circumference and r is the radius of the circle. If we divide each side by r, we end up with 2 pi is equal to circumference divided by the radius. This ratio is true for any circle. The circumference divided by the length of the radius is going to always be equal to 2 pi. And 2 pi is approximately 6.283. How many radii do we have in one rotation of a circle? It's going to be 2 pi exactly, approximately 6.283. Now, exactly what is a radian? A radian is the measure of a central angle. See how the center is at, the vertex is at the center of the circle here. 1 radian is the measure of a central angle of a circle that intercepts an arc equal in length to the radius of the circle. So this is a radius, this is a radius. We're intercepting an arc that is equal in length to the radius of the circle. This is 1 radian. 2 radii intercepting an arc of a circle that is equal in length to the radius of the circle. This is 1 radian. The total circumference equals 2 pi times the radius. In other words, a full circular rotation is 2 pi radians. 2 pi radians. Now, that means that we're going to have 360 degrees is the same thing as 2 pi radians. If we divide each side by 2 pi, we end up with 1 radian is equal to 180 divided by pi degrees. And if you use your calculator, then 1 radian is approximately 57.3 degrees. So this theta right here is approximately 57.3 degrees. And this 180 over pi degrees is going to be the conversion factor for changing radians, which is just some real number, into degrees. Let's look at this again. 360 degrees is equal to 2 pi radians. This time, let's divide each side by 360. Well, when we do that, we have 1 degree is equal to pi over 180 radian. Using our calculator, this is approximately 0.017 radian, 17,000th of a radian. And this will be our conversion factor for changing degrees into radians. Conversion factor for changing degrees into radians. When an angle is described without a specific unit, it refers to radian measure. And again, there's just going to be a real number, no unit, a real number like 2, 7, 8.10, something like that. Radian measure is dimensionless since it is the quotient of a length, circumference, divided by a length, the radius, and the length units cancel out. So therefore, we're changing degrees into radians, and that is just, a radian is just a real number. Let us look at some examples. We're going to convert each angle in degrees to radians. So we have 30 degrees. Our conversion factor is pi over 180 degrees. It's pi radians per 180 degrees. Well, the degree units cancel out. So we're going to be left with just a real number. And 31 and 30 once. 180 divided by 30 is 6. 1 times pi is pi. 1 times 6 is 6. So 30 degrees is the same thing as pi over 6 radians. For 90 degrees, we multiply by our conversion factor for changing degrees into radians, pi over 180 degrees. Degree units cancel out. We're left with just a real number, which is a radian. 90 are going to 90 once. 90 are going to 180 twice. 1 times pi, pi. 1 times 2, 2. So 90 degrees is equal to pi over 2 radians. We have a negative 135 degrees times our conversion factor, pi over 180 degrees. Degree units cancel out. So we have a negative 135 times pi over 180. 45 will go into 135 3 times. 45 will go into 180 4 times. So it's a negative 3 times pi, which is a negative 3 pi, over 1 times 4, which is 4. So a negative 135 degrees is the same thing as a negative 3 pi over 4 radians. Let's look at another example. We're going to convert each angle in radians 2 degrees, and we have pi over 3 radians. It's pi over 3 radians times 180 degrees per pi radians. The pi's cancel out. Pi and the pi once, pi and the pi once. So we're left with 180 degrees over 3, which is 60 degrees. So pi over 3 radians is the same thing as 60 degrees. Here we have a negative 5 pi over 3 radians times our conversion factor of 180 degrees over pi. The pi's cancel out. So we're left with a negative 5 times 180 over 3. And when you multiply and divide, we're going to get a negative 300 degrees. So a negative 5 pi over 3 radians is the same thing as a negative 300 degrees. Here we have 2.3 radians. Remember I said radian is just a real number? I don't have a pi here, but I still use the same conversion factor for changing radians into degrees. 180 degrees over pi. I multiply my two numerators, multiply my two denominators, use my calculator to divide, and I'm getting approximately 131.8 degrees. So 2.3 radians is approximately 131.8 degrees. And remember, as you are reviewing this video, always remember to stop, rewind, review. Stop, rewind, review until you understand what is being explained. My love goes out to you.